Fiction is filled with many heroic characters, ones who rise to the challenge due to prophecy, or ones who seek to do right in an unjust world. From reluctant to romantic, from everyman to Superman, with one of the most famous being the Dark Knight. Batman. With it coming up to 85 years since his creation. I mean, that is a milestone in and of itself, with one of the most well-known versions of the character being the seminal gaming series of the Arkham games. And with 2 new games from Rocksteady released around this sort of time, I mean, you can imagine the level of honour and integrity they have brought to the Dark Knight in his 85th anniversary. Are they trying to bottle failure for some dark and twisted purpose? Did they wish on a monkey's paw? They get 3 excellent games but then have to equal it out with 3 terrible games. Did someone walk under a ladder after crushing a 4-leaf clover, after decimating a rabbit's foot, after cursing a witch? Perhaps they're simply allergic to money. There are not enough faces in the world to palm that would be sufficient to describe the level of stupid on display here. The descendants of these developers will forever have to live in shame, knowing that their ancestors produced this filth. I'm calling it now, this was some sick bet by Marvel. But let us not focus too much on the negative. Forget the troubles of that, and instead let's focus on the good. So let us now take a look back through these seminal games and look at the character of Batman, and perhaps see why these games were so successful. I mean, for one thing, they didn't insult the audience, so... We are introduced to the character through the same dynamic that we're always used to. With Batman after another caper bringing a criminal to Arkham Asylum for detainment, serving as a denizen of order and justice in this setting, being on firmly familiar ground with Commissioner Gordon and Warden Sharp. This is a role that the character plays throughout the story as he works to restore order to the asylum after the ever-scheming Joker takes over. We're led to reason that this is a seasoned Batman, well into his crime-fighting career, with the asylum being filled with many of his rogues already in their complete forms. His aforementioned familiarity with authority figures and guards, as well as his immediate understanding that something is wrong when he brings in the Joker in his mind too easily. He's been around the block a few times. This is reflected in the setting. The Arkham Asylum depicted here is a gothic tome of Gotham's history, from the newer, more updated medical wings to the ornate old house. It is clear that this place has existed for a long time, and from the story of Amadeus Arkham, it is made clear that the evil it hopes to treat has infected the site since its inception. We're presented with all manner of patients, from the standard rogues that Batman fights nightly, to the grunts and thugs brought over from Blackgate Prison, to the lunatics, failed experiments of Hugo Strange, who were once just ill people in need of treatment, but were experimented on and then lobotomized, before being cast aside and forgotten. A dark undercurrent, and one that highlights the question of why this place has been allowed to remain open, and how this sort of evil was allowed to continue for as long as it did. The fact that we need to answer that question just proves why someone like Batman needs to exist in this world. As those who wish to play God toy with the lives of others and make monsters out of the vulnerable, as further evidenced by Dr. Young and her creation of the Titan formula, the MacGuffin that Joker is working towards. Which really is a good question. Why does Joker want Batman here? If his goal was just to get the formula, why does he want Batman present? Well, what does the formula do? It turns people into monsters, which plays precisely into Joker's philosophy, that anyone is capable of being like him if pushed too far, with him needling Batman to break his rule early on, or by trying to infect Gordon in the climax, probably knowing that Batman would jump in front and take the bullet for the Commissioner, in an action that would either make Batman like him through the formula, or break him through grief. Unfortunately for Joker, Batman stands firm against this philosophy throughout the game, saving whatever lives he can, restoring order to Arkham one area at a time. And unfortunately for this video, Batman is a very stoic character. It's not as though he's about to sit down and calmly express his feelings. No. If only there was a character that could visualize a character's innermost anxieties and fears. Someone like... He'll do. The Scarecrow levels are considered among the best in the game for good reason. Not only do they break up the gameplay of how this game is designed, but they also handily show us the thought process of our protagonist. His innermost fears of losing those he cares about, much like those he lost in the past. How he replays the events of that night over and over again in his head. What his parents say to him could just be ignored as manipulation by Scarecrow, but then again, Scarecrow has never had such an ability before. So instead, this could be considered some version of what Batman himself thinks or has thought in the past. That he should have been able to stand up to the gun-toting Joe Chill and not let his parents die. That thought process and desire being what led him down the path to becoming Batman. Wanting to save the ones he loves and be able to stop the monsters from hurting anyone else. But what was it that Nietzsche said? When you look into the abyss looks back into you. As we see these versions of Batman insane and caged, much like the lunatics. Does Batman on some level think he belongs in the asylum, acknowledging that this life he lives is unhealthy, or as insane as any of the criminals he fights against? Well, old Brucey may get his wish as we move on to... The evil that permeates the asylum has spread into Gotham City and taken over a portion of it. Hugo Strange has taken his macabre experiments to the next level, as he cordons off a section of the city and allows the criminals within to run amok, along with political prisoners and some former residents who refuse to leave their homes, with the plan being to wipe them all off the board with Protocol 10. Strange asks a question to Batman, on the side of his parents' death no less. You cheeky If whoever Batman created the villains he fights, and his insistence on jailing them rather than killing them has led to this extreme. A bold question. But let's consider, although Arkham was a malformed and monstrous place that either held or created monsters, it was still at heart a hospital. A place of healing. It was people like Strange that malformed it and made it into the cesspool it became. The game starts with Bruce Wayne using his power and influence to try and shut down Arkham City. As put simply, while the asylum tried and failed to help people, this is only a place that seeks to let people rot and squalor. Hugo Strange is not the only person to judge Batman's mission. We also have the League of Assassins, with the immortal Ra's al Ghul and his daughter Talia, seeking to convert him into a leader of their league. Use their resources with his skills to purge the world of evil. But doing so would again involve taking lives. But Batman is the son of a doctor. He's a hero. He does this to save lives, not take them. Even though people like the Joker and Two-Face and Poison Ivy have done horrific, terrible, awful, heinous, terrible, awful, I probably said more than those words more than once there, things in the past, and probably will do so again in the future. It's not his place to take lives, to act as some executioner. He is a deliverer of justice.
Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
But let's take a look at the setting of this game. As stated, this is a section of Gotham that has been walled off from the rest of society. But not just any section, it's the slums, Old Gotham, the brewery, the industrial district, sections home to the lower classes and to the less fortunate. Could this be a commentary on how desperation created by a lack of resources leads one to a life of crime? But wait, hang on. The two frontrunners of Arkham City, Ra's and Hugo Strange, are both influential figures, both for their academic pedigree and for their level of power worldwide. How can the game be saying that poverty creates criminals? It certainly did not for Two-Face, Harley Quinn, the Riddler, or the Penguin. And for that matter, why is Bruce Wayne the only one willing to stand up to Strange and seek to shut down Arkham? Context clues make this an exception. What kind of a city would allow for this sort of thing to happen? For political prisoners and residents to be thrown to slaughter? One that wants a scapegoat. The ability to commit abhorrent acts of evil is something that anyone can be capable of, but no one wants to admit such a fact. So they look for reasons and excuses. It's not my fault, it's the system's fault. I had no choice, I was desperate. So instead they look for someone to blame. It cannot be the upstanding doctor with years of medical training, or the politician. So who else but the people at the bottom rung? Apathy and denial. Two sins that make evil much easier. But not while Batman is around. While in the asylum, Batman sought to restore order, keeping the insanity from spreading out to Gotham as a whole. This time he has a much more uphill battle on his hands. Before, he had the support of not just the Arkham Guards, but also support from the mainland. Whereas this time, Strange has the incompetent Mayor Sharp in his pocket. In a lawless town with no real allies. Not only that, but also with 2 ticking clocks as the countdown to Protocol 10 ticks by, but also as his own health hangs in the balance. That certainly is a lot, but Batman has the greatest tool at his disposal, his willpower, the ability to carry on even though the road ahead is so difficult. But that being said, that same road comes with casualties.
Talia!
Once again, his worst fears are realised. His parents were ripped away from him. He was afraid that his friends would be taken away too, but now it is the woman he loves. It is made clear that Talia affects Bruce differently than others. She distracts him, makes him forget his mission. Perhaps in another life, he would have put down the cowl and lived an ordinary life with her. But this is not that kind of world. His love is dead. His enemies are dead. Now all that remains is the... The insanity and evil that once was contained to the asylum has truly infected every corner of Gotham. From high-rise towers to business owners to attorneys to doctors to orphans. Bruce Wayne has lost much in his crusade. It began with the death of his innocents with his parents. It continued as a lingering fear of losing more people. He lost the closest thing to a love he held, along with a potential future. And as we learn in this game, he also lost a son in Jason Todd. And now, he is at risk of losing his home he has fought to protect, and his own mind to the ghost of his greatest enemy. In that way, it's quite appropriate therefore that the main antagonist of this game is Scarecrow, the harbinger of fear, the one to bring to the surface the protagonist's fears in the first game and left as a lingering threat, only to return in this game, where the protagonist's greatest fear has already been realised. With Scarecrow comes the Arkham Knight, and a lot of the conversation around this character has kind of been skewed by the fact that the twist that it's actually Jason Todd was kind of obvious and kind of generic and kind of terrible. But that being said, why bring the character back at all? The death of Jason Todd is known as one of Batman's greatest failures when he lost a son, when he brought an orphaned, troubled child under his wing, only for him to brutally lose his life. The story of the prodigal son sees 2 children have different reactions to the legacy left by their father. The older son respects his father, works hard, and builds his own legacy in his own right, while the second son is wasteful, dismissing his father and what he has done for him, squandering everything he's been given until forced to crawl in the mud for scraps, returning to his father to humbly ask for forgiveness and work. Oh, good. That's one less death on Batman's conscience. He can go merrily on his way to serving justice out to Gotham City. Right? There are many actions that Batman takes in this game that are a response to his fears of loss. He has Robin sequestered away in one of their bases to prevent him from being hurt. He tries looking for someone to continue his legacy in Azrael, someone who can look after the city if he himself is killed. He outfits the Batmobile from a supercar to a tank, built for war, paranoia driving him most likely to make this change in the event of needing more artillery. But the most aggressive sign is the ghost that continues to follow him, as Joker's voice constantly pushes him throughout the night. And a lot of things can be said about this hallucination. Is this just a hallucination, or is this actually Joker taking over his body? I think it's a little of both and neither. It's picking up the thread from Arkham Asylum, of Batman being afraid that he belongs in the asylum, just like the villains he fights, with this being the ultimate extension of it, as he loses his mind, his morals, and his compassion to madness. After all he has suffered, it is understandable to believe him about to break. How many bad days has he had? And all it takes is one, with Joker being the manifestation of this fear. He failed Jason, he failed Talia, he failed his parents, and now he will fail his city. No, he did not fail. He did not fail Jason. He has not failed Gotham yet. He is more than his bad days. He is vengeance. He is the Knight.
I am Batman!
He regains his sense of self, regains his mind, and defeats his fear, with it defeating Scarecrow. His second son has returned to him. Gotham is safe, but in the process, his greatest shield to protect them has been compromised, and so now he must activate the Nightfall Protocol, sacrificing Bruce Wayne so that Batman can be fully let loose, returning once more alone to the shadows, where he remains as the Dark Knight of Gotham. The story of the Arkham game serves as one of the go-to depictions of the character. being the first iteration of the character to be viewed by some, and a fitting continuance to the legacy of the character for others. Despite the terrible, no good, very bad, oh my goodness, what were they thinking choices by Rocksteady, I'm still cautiously optimistic. Because while Rocksteady has kind of lost their way by a lot, there is still always a chance that they could get back to making good games again in the next lifetime. Or maybe another developer will come in and continue the legacy that Rocksteady started. The character of Batman is not going away anytime soon. And so let me conclude this by first of all stating rest in peace to Kevin Conroy. And maybe I continue this by saying I cannot wait to see what adventures the Caped Crusader has next time. But until next time, thank you everyone for watching and peace be with you.